Welcome to my review of the new Fast and Furious movie, Fast X. I'm disappointed. So in my video where I reviewed 1,000 movies, I mentioned that I really liked the Fast and Furious movies, and I still really do. Like, to be honest, I'm a big fan of these movies. Up until Hobbs and Shaw. After that, the series kind of had a little downfall. Part 1 is nothing groundbreaking, but it's a very fun movie that I just enjoy watching. Part 2 and 3, pretty okay. Could be better, definitely. But starting with Fast and Furious, which is part 4 of the series, these movies just got great. Fast 5 was great, Fast and Furious 6 was amazing, and Furious 7 was one of my top 100 movies in those 1,000 movies. And yeah, generally it's like such a great movie and easily my favorite Fast and Furious movie thus far. And even after that, when they put out Hobbs and Shaw, that was a movie that didn't try to be a Fast and Furious movie anymore, and therefore I just could enjoy it a lot more because it's so ridiculous and basically a science fiction movie. Now with Fate of the Furious and F9, they just got worse and worse in a way. Fate of the Furious just was very soulless and boring in my opinion, and F9 was definitely more entertaining. I had a lot more fun with it, but it was even more illogical, even more just absurd and bad to be honest. Like there were so many bad things about it. Now Fast X is kind of a mix between Fate of the Furious and F9 because this movie is both really boring at some points, but also kind of fun bad. And both of them are not really what I would want from a Fast and Furious movie. I mean, I like ridiculous movies definitely, and I also like the more ridiculous movies that the Fast and Furious series has put out up to this point. Since Fast and Furious, they've only been getting more and more ridiculous, but there's a line that they have crossed since F9 that I just didn't think worked very well, and that made me enjoy them a lot less. The reason for that might be because Justin Lin started writing F9 and also writing Fast X, and also the two other writers on Fast X are writers that haven't been involved in the series of Fast and Furious this far, so it's basically a completely new writers team. And also the director of Fast X is Louis Leterrier. He directed Now You See Me, The Incredible Hulk, and The Transporter. All of them, I guess, pretty decent movies. But yeah, he's also kind of new to this series. And you can really feel that because it in a way, it's just getting worse and worse. And I don't want to shit on the series for being ridiculous, but again, there's kind of a line that we crossed that just made me not enjoy them as much anymore. This movie started out pretty okay. It actually had a lot more drama in the beginning. Like F9 just started out with one scene maybe we have kind of setting up the story and then instantly got into the plot, which just felt abrupt. But this one kind of takes a little bit more time at least with that. And the first action sequence actually started out like pretty okay. It was still kind of ridiculous. They were following this bomb that was rolling through Rome, and they tried to stop it from, obviously exploding and hurting a lot of people. But instantly in this scene I realized where this movie was going, and I really hoped it was going a lot more in the direction of maybe a Fast and Furious 6 or 7. But no, it got more in the direction of F9, which is just sad. Because when this bomb started getting on fire and started an explosion at a gas station, that's when I thought, okay, this bomb should explode now, but why is it still rolling? Why is it not exploding? That's when I kind of started realizing how there's not a lot of thought put into the action anymore. And in the end, there's a scene down to where it does something so ridiculous that just instantly reminded me of F9, and I realized, okay, this is not going to get any better, probably. I'm not going to name everything that is illogical about this movie anymore because I could do that for at least 10 minutes, and it would be probably a lot of fun, but I just don't want to do it. Just one thing I want to mention, Dom Toretto seems to be incredibly good at swinging things with his car. And so, yeah, I don't know how he managed to practice that, but this is the main thing that he does in this movie. He actually swings things with his car. With the first action sequence ending, I stopped getting invested more and more into the movie until in the end I was laughing because it was just like the ending of this movie was so bad that I just had to laugh at it. Or I don't know, maybe laugh at a way of coping with the disappointment that I just experienced. The main thing that I really don't like about this movie, except for the very illogical things that happen, is kind of that this movie is very empty in its runtime. For some reason, they wanted to make another part of this. They just can't end the series anymore. The movie is as long as it needs to be, so if they actually have a story that is worth telling over 2 or 3 parts, then okay, do it, but it isn't. It's not at all. Because already this movie is just so stretched with nothing. With so many scenes that are really just worthless and go absolutely nowhere. And that just makes me think, if this movie is already so bloated with absolutely forgettable and throwaway scenes, why make two parts out of this? And another thing, why are they not just making a 2 hour movie? We are able to make 2 hour movies in this day and age. We don't need more than 2 hours for a blockbuster, because at least 20 minutes of this movie could have just been deleted and it would be fine. Actually, it would be so much more entertaining. Like an example of that is a scene where 4 of our main heroes are in a store, and there's a lot of things going on in the scene that really don't make a huge difference for the plot. But one thing that I just realized, Han is eating a muffin that he gets hallucinations from, and that is just like one shot where he's like confused, and then it's not mentioned anymore. I don't know why that happened. I don't recall any situation where this should have been brought up, and that happens fairly often. Also, a reason why this movie is so long is because every single character kind of has a side quest. They always put like at least 2 characters into a side plot, and that side plot is not really important, at least not for this movie. Maybe it's for the next movie, but they don't mention it enough to make it actually important. Also, every single side plot for some reason needs a fight scene. Tyrese and Ludacris have a fight scene in this movie that is maybe like 1 or 2 minutes, but it's there and it's not important. Then Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron have a fight scene in this movie that is also not really important. Also, their quest over the course of this movie is like so... This could have been told in like 5 minutes or so, but they stretched it out over the course of the movie to make it feel a bit more important. But to be honest, they could have just left that plot out completely and put it into the next movie and it would be completely fine. But they obviously can't just forget about these characters, so they have to mention it here. Yeah, that's one main thing why this movie just works so badly, simply because it's so long, filled with so much nothing. The crew of 4 people that I just mentioned were in the store. I don't think they do anything really. Jason Statham is in this movie and he gets one scene and then leaves. He's probably gonna be important for the next movie, but why don't just have his scene in the next movie and just leave it out in this one? Because it really does nothing. Now, even though I did not enjoy this more than F9, I still think that it's objectively at least a little better. There are some things about this movie that I actually think are good. First of all, Jason Momoa is actually pretty great. He's not just entertaining. I mean, yes, he is. He's very over the top and it really works. But a reason for why I think he's actually like a very good villain is the fact that he kind of uses this very ridiculous look at the Fast and Furious saga and uses it as a motivation against Dom Toretto and his crew. He mentions how many ridiculous things Dom Toretto has already done with cars, how absolutely invincible all of these characters are at this point. Like, he actually also makes fun of this whole family is important thing that the Fast and Furious movies are pretty well known for at this point. And even though that's like something I really enjoyed about the movies up until maybe like Fast and Furious 7 or 8, this family thing holding everything together, since F9, this is just like a meme, to be honest. I can't really take it seriously anymore because it kind of means that everybody who's in his family is just invincible. And that exact thing is what Jason Momoa's character uses against Dom Toretto, because he says, okay, if the family is as important to you, I'm just going to hurt everyone in your family and you can't save everyone, which is kind of a great thing for this villain. I actually think he's a pretty good villain for this movie. Another thing I really like about this film is John Cena. Even though his redemption arc of the last movie is just still so bad, he was at least entertaining. He had a lot of scenes with this little kid. It was entertaining, it was funny. He actually had a lot to do, which I just enjoyed. And one thing that I thought was massively better than Fate of the Furious and F9 was the stakes are much higher because people actually die. In F9 it was kind of a running gag that these people are invincible, and I thought, okay, maybe they are going to use this in a way that they actually have a little more impact when a person actually dies. But yeah, I don't think anybody really died in F9. But in this one, people actually die. There's characters in the movie that at least it seems like they die. They, for some reason, can bring back everyone at this point, but it seems like characters actually die, so it feels like there's a little bit more danger to it, and that's something I thought was massively improved in comparison to F9. But this again leads me to the ending, which yeah, again, I was laughing because it was just so bad. I'm going to have to talk about spoilers for a second. So first thing that I was pissed off about was obviously again another ridiculous situation that Dom Toretto survives for some reason, him jumping off that dam. I don't need to complain about this anymore because it's just the same thing over and over again, but that's one thing that pissed me off. The next thing that pissed me off was Giselle coming back after Letty in part 4, I think, died and came back in, I don't know, maybe part 5 or 6. That was something that I was really happy about, and that fans in general were probably pretty happy about, because she's a beloved character and her coming back is something unexpected. Fast and Furious 9, they brought Han back, who has been dead for a lot of movies at this point. Another reason why I hate F9 a little bit more. But the only reason why I didn't like Fast and Furious 6 as much as I liked other movies was because Giselle's death in the last few minutes was just stupid. Her death was not a death to me. I really complained about that because they survived a lot of things at this point already. So that just seemed like very little for someone to die. Still, I was pretty mad when they brought her back, because at this point I've coped with the fact that this character is supposed to be dead, and we already have 2 of our main characters getting revived, and it's pretty annoying at this point. Already we have so many characters that all don't get enough attention. We have so many characters that basically do nothing, and now we are getting another return who will probably do very little in the plot of this movie, and it will only make it more complicated. And with The Rock also coming back, apparently, yeah, it's just getting very annoying. So, end spoilers. I am very disappointed. I still think that this movie is much more enjoyable than I make it seem by just complaining about everything in this movie. Like, again, there were some good things about it, but all in all, this is just very disappointing, boring in some cases, very overblown, way too ridiculous, even for a standard of Fast and Furious. And so I'll give this like a 4 out of 10. Not what I would want from this, but yeah. Thanks for watching.